Okay.
All right. Good morning, everybody. My name is Colette Barrett, and I'm really grateful to be here. I love to index, and I have done it for many years. What is indexing? It's really, when you go out and you're looking and searching for these really cool World War II certificates, birth certificates, naturalizations. Well, someone had to put all that information in for us to be able to research it and to search it. And that's what indexing is truly just a data entry to be able to get these in. Indexing started about 2006, and since about 2006, there've been over 1 billion searchable records put in. So a lot of work has been done. Right now, there's over 100 projects with in over 20 countries that are indexing projects, and truly about 1 million names a week are being added every week. When you think about it, it's mind-blowing. There's lots of wonderful work that's being done and to have to be done. So I just kind of like to get you guys started, and what does that all mean, and what does that look, and how do I begin? What you see on the screen right now is your family search main screen, right? When you type it, you type your user and password, this is something like this comes up. And on the very top, where I'm pointing, you see the family search. Here's where you go into your family tree. Well, if you go over a couple, you see this word indexing. And when you press on indexing, you get a little box that comes down, and where I'm going to take you today, you can look at the overview and all that stuff, but I'm going to kind of give you your overview in a quick little set this morning. You come down to what they call web indexing, and when you click on that, it brings you up into the indexing page. And this is kind of like your home page. The first time you go on it, they even have a little tutorial. As you can see, I've done lots and lots of records over the years. And a couple of things I want to point out is it goes through different, your progress, and you can kind of make little games or that kind of stuff with yourself. The biggest thing I want you to see here is this little blue button where it says Find Batches. So when you go in for the first time, you can hit this little Find Batch, and this is what comes up. Oops, let me get to where I want to go. And you may have a little bit different. You would have something what would just be called indexing. Forget the review. I happen to be a reviewer. That's why I get that option. But yours would just show indexing. You then can go to the different difficulty levels, beginning, intermediate, advanced. I would encourage you guys to kind of stick with the beginning and intermediate. Sometimes beginnings go kind of fast, but they're both quite doable. And then whatever language you want to do, there's lots of needs if anybody speaks Spanish or anything else or is familiar with any of it, but I only do English. And then as you can see right now with just those two, I have 52 total different projects going on, and I can choose any of those from you name it, Barbados, Canada, lots coming out from South Africa right now, which is really, really cool. And you can see where they are. They're indexed and reviewed. Now, what happens when we index is, and I'm going to show you actually how I would index, but when we index, after I index, in other words, data entry, I send it off. It's not like you're going, I'm the only one that ever saw that. You actually get a reviewer that will look, usually about 2 reviewers that will look after you. So we do the best we can, and believe me, you will get better as you go with the handwriting and everything else. So it's simple as that. As you can see, you'll see, say for instance, the one I have up here, the South Africa Cape Province, 34% of that has been indexed. And then again, there'll be someone to review after that. So you're not the last person to see it, which is really the blessing of it. And then literally what you would do is you would pick, say for instance, I like this Barbados church records. I have lot of friends that are from the islands down there, and they're super excited to get some names because a lot of them don't know it. So I would just hit the little index sign and ta-da, as it loads, here's what we get. So on this side, you get what you actually will be the data entry part. And here is the actual image that I would index. Now, this this writing is a little bit harder sometimes, although I will remind you, I know my grandkids, they're not learning cursive. So there's a generation of us that have to do a lot of indexing to be able to get these these valuable images out. And then what happens down the line, we index, it goes to reviewers, it goes to a little bit of extra stuff, but then it goes into family search, it goes into ancestry, and it becomes searchable for anybody that is looking. So it's really fun if you know your family is from Virginia or wherever, you can look for projects in that area. It's amazing if you ever, and I haven't personally, but I know friends that have indexed and they've come across a relative of theirs. So those are the little miracles I see in indexing. So this is kind of what you come up with. What I'm going to do is kind of go a little bit back. How I go back is, see this little back arrow? I'm going to go back to my batches. Again, the little blue will help you find batches. I pulled a couple batches myself that I kind of want to just show you. And these stay on here. Remember, I just did my little arrow out. It stays in my batches, and you can see it has a little expiration date. So say, for instance, you start something and then something happens, you're going to lunch, family needs something. All you have to do is X out or do the little arrow, and it will stay in your little My Batch area for about a week. So nothing has to be done completely until you are ready to submit it. If for some reason you have something you are working on and something happens, you don't get back into your area or into the family search area to do indexing, it will then go on to another person, it will be taken, and someone else will complete it. So there's no worry like, oh, I've got to get this done, or when something happens. So you can, feel free not to worry about that. There's my Barbados that I just pulled up, and you can see it's, this is actually the one because it's due a little bit later. I've got two that I want to put, that I actually pulled up, that are the actually enlisted in office muster rolls and rosters. I'm just going to open my batch here and let you guys see it. Again, I open my batch just like I did it. And these are lovely, right? Because they're typed. So those are always my fun ones, right? The typed ones. But this is what they consider a muster roll. The biggest thing, if you come out with nothing else after my talking to you, the most important thing is these project instructions. You see the little, how I highlight them? The project instructions are here. They are up here in our little toolbar with the little eye thing. Every project has different instructions, and they are actually, someone just doesn't decide, whoop, we're going to just have this indexed and this index, but there's actually a process by done with actually the records of the custodians and how they then share them with Family Search and Ancestry. And they're the ones that, through some legal means and contracts, decide what should be indexed. So in this case, I would go to the project instructions before I did anything. And here it says, records that are outside of the project date should be indexed. Index all military records, including muster rolls. So you'll see different type of military. Do not index the name of a person preparing. So this gives us all the information. Then they give examples, and you can literally highlight these, and they'll show you different examples and how to actually index one. And then there's some little more specific things, what to remember. Some indexed may contain only a name and etc. I won't go too into this because each project image is a little bit different. So especially when you start, I would encourage you to kind of stick with the same group or same project. So if this muster, we'll kind of do one kind of ourselves. This one was like, oh, maybe I'll try this. Yeah, just go to the muster, like when you do your find my batch, and that's how you'll find it. And then here's your project instruction. On every one of our images, on every one of the project, they'll say, should this image be indexed? 99% of the time, you'll leave yes, but there is an occasional time, this might be completely blank. It's just literally a blank page. In that case, I would bring this down and I would highlight no extractable data. And it essentially would say, okay, fine, we're gonna send it off. In this case, there is extractable data, right? We see lots of good names. And so in this case, I would keep up yes and hit next. And then my entry. You can see on the top, this is image 1 of 1. I only have one image. This is considered the image. And there's actually 40 entries. Well, I don't know if there's less than 40, okay? But, and I'll show you on a different one that I've kind of started for you guys to see how I actually submit it. The other thing I really want to tell you is this little ruler, which can be very helpful. And if I go up into this little area here where it says batch and data entry, if I bring the entry down, you see where it says show toolbar, show ruler, and it's just checked. If it wouldn't be checked, I'd get rid of it. Oh, see, it's gone. I'm going to bring up my data entry again, show my ruler. This is a great way, especially if it's a little bit longer, I just bring them down as I go. So how I would start this, I'm on the first entry, right, number 1. Right here, these are the names. Here's when it's enlisted. And then here are some remarks that really don't have anything to do with us. But the name and the enlisted's the big information that we're going to do some data to index, essentially. The surname is Richardson. Okay, so I would just bring it down. Now you can tab or you can take your mouse and put your cursor at the given name, whatever you're most comfortable with. Then it asks me for the first name. It's Clarence. So I'm going to just type in Clarence. Again, all I'm doing is data entry. Now the military month, I'm going to say, what does that exactly mean? Well, the cool part is I can put my cursor in there and a little purple question mark will come up. And I may say to myself, what does a military month mean? Well, I can bring it up and in a quick little help, right? It'll say, type the 3 letters of the military month. The dates were typically written in month, day, year. The date at the top of the roster or roll may be used when the month was written as a number. So it kind of gives me this little bit of information. And here it says, when there's multiple dates listed, number 1, use the enlistment date. Okay, well, there it is. We have the enlistment date right there. And then it gives you some other little bit of information. But in every one of these, even when I did the given name, right, there's another little bit of a purple question mark that gives us help. Those are tremendous. And so sometimes I'll forget, like, what does this mean? Or do I add this? Or, something like that. And those purple question marks really will help. So in the month, it's May 12th, right? So I can do it several ways. I can do it all the way May and then highlight it, however you want to do it. But that drop-down box will be very helpful. The military day is the 12th, and the military year then is 1911. All right. Now, they ask about a birthplace. There is no birthplace or age written specifically on this image, so I would have to mark it blank. Do you see the little asterisks next to birthplace? It's also next to surname and given name. See those little asterisks or little stars? Those are to tell me that I can't just tab and leave them empty. I have to mark them blank. Two ways to mark our things blank. See up in our little toolbar up here, see that little, the fourth from the left, it's a little rectangle with that little X. I can press that and it will mark it blank. And I can just do it the same way. Or I can hit Control B and that will mark it blank. All right, that marked it blank and it goes automatically to entry 2. You see how that goes there for me? And then I'm ready to do this. And I do the same thing. And after I get number 2, it'll hop me on to the next entry, which will be number 3 to the very, very end. Anybody have any questions regarding that so far? Okay, well, I want to show you, I've done one. I've done it all the way to the end. And I kind of want to show you how we then submit it. So I'm going to open this. Again, it's still the muster roll, just like we were doing. It's just another batch. And this one happens to be written, so I can increase it. You can see these little positive and negatives, so you can increase it this way. I'm just using it with my mouse, either way. There's a couple other things I will show you on this area. Which is tools. If I bring this little area here, there's a tool. So for instance, I won't get into real in-depth stuff here, but sometimes it's a little bit hard to read, or if it's a little bit darker or whatever, you can always change the brightness to your own satisfaction and just apply it. That tends to be very useful. But I have already, if you can see here, I'm on entry 16, all right? So I have done all of them, and sometimes that little ruler gets found. Literally, it'll go to the front or on the top or on the bottom. But if you see, I'm on the very last one because I've done all of them, because I kind of wanted to show you guys this area. So just like before, right? I'm going to write his surname, which is his last name, which is, let's see, what shall we guess? Sometimes these are just, I think it's Fortier. So it looks like Fortier. His first name is Alfred, Alfred. And in this case, a little bit different, but again, I can go to the very top and see how it says enlisted. Here, this one happens to say the rank, not going to do anything about it. And when we were when he was enlisted, which is, we know from our past rules, that's the one I want. So I'm going to look at this, and you can see this says November. So I can just do I can do NOV, and then just hit enter. I can write the military day, which is 21. I can tab or enter it, and then I'm going to do 1910. Again, remember, no birthplace or age. So I can go up to my toolbar. I'm going to hit blank, and now there's nothing else, right? There's nothing else to do. And yet I've got all these entries. And if you try to submit it by this, it'll say, you got a problem. Real easy. See this little trash can up here in my tool area? See my little trash can? I'm going to hit my little trash can. Now I can do several things. I can delete the current entry, but in this case, I've got 23 entries I want to get rid of, because they give you this blank number in this project of 40. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to highlight the all blank entries, and I'm going to delete them. And suddenly I delete them, and now all I've got is my entry 16, that last one with Alfred, of 16. I'm ready to go. I've completed all of them. If you look back, I can show you how to look back and see my little arrows. This will get me all the way back to entry 1. If I wanted to relook at something, or I'm like, oh, I'm going to look at this or that. And then I can go back to the very end, which is back to number 16. Sometimes there'll be 16, sometimes there may be 20, sometimes there may be 40, sometimes there may be 4. Each of the project images are slightly different depending upon, how it was recorded at that time. When I have this entry done, literally all I do is I hit submit batch. I just press that and it says no issues found. Now, if there would be an issue, I might have forgotten to, the biggest things is I might have forgotten to make blank on the birthplace or the age. I might have extra entries that I forgot to delete, something like that. But just like we do, it says everything looks fine. Now, this doesn't mean that it's perfectly indexed because a reviewer will decide that. But by this telling me no issues found means like, hey, you filled in all the blanks, everything looks good for on our point of view, and then I hit submit batch, and you'll know because you get your little confetti. And that's it. And that's how you do one. The cool thing is it allows me to go to my next batch if I choose. And say, for instance, if I do, which like I said, I really recommend you going to that next batch and then just starting from there. That way you kind of stick with the same thing. But yeah, that is, let me see if there's anything else. I think we hit everything. Are there any questions? Okay. I am grateful for you guys. I encourage you, if you want to ask me any questions, Chelsea's got my name and number. Feel free. It's like, oh, just help me with one. I will be happy to. It's the way we all start from, we all start never knowing this, but this is the way that our trees are able to grow, because I just submitted 16 names of possibly someone looking for someone that didn't know a name, a first name, a last name. And that's what we see. That's what we see with indexing. So I am so grateful because as I look in my family tree and I get hints, it's because I know someone has been doing indexing for my relatives. And so thanks guys. I appreciate you listening, and I hope you give it a try.
Colette, that was absolutely excellent. I mean, that's the best tutorial I've ever gotten on indexing. I feel so much more confident. So thank you so much for helping us with that.
Yeah. Oh, I love it.